What is going on, guys? Welcome to the very first episode of my brand new live show, Hey Yo Foxboro. Hopefully, some of you guys kind of get that reference. Today, we're going to talk all about the Patriots versus Giants preseason game. Of course, that was last night in case you missed it. And I am finally joined fashionably late. Mr. Thomas Murphy, hello, how are you?
Wonderful, wonderful. Sorry for being tardy, people.
Oh
I
no, it's
I had,
fashionably late.
I had interweb connection issues with StreamYard for some reason. They didn't want to recognize my microphone or my camera, which I'm sorry, they now do recognize my camera, people.
You know what's funny? It's always something like that. It's always the internet thing.
Yeah,
I feel
it's
like
always the
that's
it's
the
always
worst.
the interwebs things. It's terrible. It's
Yes.
terrible.
So I was
So
just letting the people know that it is the very first episode. How do you feel about being the first guest on Hey
I'm
Yo Foxboro?
thrilled. I am. I'm totally thrilled that I was asked to be here and be first. I don't know what I did to deserve this honor in any way, shape, or form. Maybe the boss put in a good word or two for me. Claire might have given a call and said, "Yeah, have Murph on and make him feel good. It'll make him
Yeah,
feel good."
technically I was forced. No, I'm just kidding. You're here because of the other people declining. No, I'm
Yeah.
just joking. So I did want to touch briefly. So we're gonna go over, of course, the Patriots Giants game. But
Yeah.
because you and I didn't speak, you did write about it yesterday. But I wanted to get your thoughts on the James White retirement announcement from
Um.
yesterday. I like I said, I know you wrote about it for E2G Sports,
Yeah.
and I talked about it a little bit in tweets, but I was a little bit surprised. How did you feel?
I was kind of. I was not surprised that
Mm-hmm.
it came out that he retired. I'm surprised that it happened this soon.
Yeah.
Okay, this early. Um, I believe that Bill did him a real solid in giving him a contract after last year's injury. Folks, we're basically talking about the same injury that ended Bo Jackson's career.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, thankfully, um, medical technology has gotten much better. If you can imagine, in those 25 or so years, 30 years since Bo went down, and there was a possibility that he would come back. And I held on. I did. I held on with hope because Mr. White is about um, as favorite a Patriot that you can put in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a fantastic human being, a fantastic football player. Quite honestly, when he was drafted, I was thrilled. I did cartwheels through my living room. If you can believe it, folks, I can do a cartwheel, or at least I could at that point in time. And it just hurts because he's such a fantastic person and such a fantastic player, and that without this injury, he would still be out there balling right now. If you
Mm-hmm.
um, if you look at the Patriots' offense last season, um, the dip happened after his injury. Okay,
Yep.
without that extra cog, without that defined role filled by a man like James White, this offense got stagnant. It got downright predictable, and it really hurt. And this team, I think, could have won two or three more games last year with James White healthy. And
Yep.
whatever he does next, I know he'll be a success at. I hope it's coaching because what
Mm-hmm.
I've been told by many people is there are few people that have ever put a helmet on that are able to help a younger ball player or a player coming into the system as much as James White has.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere yesterday that he said he was considering coaching or broadcasting or something. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean, the doors are going to be open. Obviously, he's made such a tremendous impact on the NFL in general, just based
Hmm.
off of the reaction that you saw after his announcement yesterday. And as much as people wanted to mention the things that he accomplished on the field, I noticed it was so much more than that. As you kind of
Yeah.
touched on, that he was such a good person. That's what I felt like was the more of the reaction
Right.
even after the game last night and the post game press conferences. I mean, that was what they were focused on. Devin McCourty said that he would be thrilled if, his daughter, when she's
Right.
older, came home with a guy like James White. So,
Exactly.
and I think that's what hurts the most about the fact that he had to retire, is just that
Hmm.
he's such a good person and he embodied the Patriot way and
He did.
what it was to be a Patriot. So, I was one of the people too that was holding out hope he would come
Yeah,
back. But how do you think his absence this year, since you talked about that a little bit, do you think that it's going to be a big
I do. I
missing
think.
piece?
Yeah, I think that they may be able to find somebody to fill that third down role, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's J.J. Taylor or Pierre Strong or someone else. But the hole that's left in the locker room, the hole that's left on the practice fields. This is a guy that brought it every single day and showed people what it meant to come to work here. Okay, you,
Mm-hmm.
you don't come here to fool around. We've seen it time and again with players that come in here and just can't hack it. They just
Yeah.
they can't do it. Never mind understand the playbook, but give the 140%. I hate the cliche, but to give 100% every single time that you step on the field, be it a practice field or a game field, whatever. This is
Mm-hmm.
a man that did that, and to continuously lose people that lead by example, to injury. We lost Welker to injury a few years ago, and now
Mm-hmm.
these type of guys that are no longer in that locker room and no longer on these practice fields, no longer on the sidelines, screaming at Tom Brady, "You're too old."
Yeah.
Um, to pump them up and get them going. These guys are few and far between. The general, you can go out and say these things, but to have the respect of your coaches and teammates at the same time doesn't always happen. Okay,
Yeah.
you can come off in a very different way. Believe me, as a coach, I know this, to different people, and but to have that respect from top to bottom, from Robert Kraft all the way down to the guys who don't deflate footballs before the game starts, is rare.
Yeah.
Okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
really rare.
Yeah.
Let forget that. I don't want to get into that today.
Yeah. I oh my god, I just lost my thought. Oh no, I got it. I remember. Um,
Okay.
I think that's what I really like about him too, and you even talked about like Edelman really there too. Is James was definitely one of those guys that didn't care about his stats and what he
Right.
did. It was what, for the good of the
Brilliant.
team. And that's
Yep.
something that I will forever remember about him.
Right.
Like I tweeted it briefly yesterday that he's going to go down as one of my favorite Patriots ever.
Yeah.
Like
Ever.
very underrated, but I saw so many people that were fans of other teams that were even talking about him,
Right.
and I was surprised, and I was like, okay, that's when you know that you've made an impact,
Right. Now.
because
Now.
outside of the New England area there are people
Right.
talking about it.
The reason that you get this kind of love and admiration is what these people saw from James White during the most pivotal moments in the NFL over the past decade.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when the lights were on, when the playoffs started, when the Super Bowl was there, James White stepped up every single time. He's one of the greatest playoff performers in the history of this league. And what I wrote yesterday, you can get it at E2G Sports.com, was drop off your playbook, pick up your red jacket, because
Yep.
by no means is James White a Pro Football Hall of Fame player. You just that's just too rarefied air.
Right.
And Bill used him in a way coming out of Wisconsin that was never really going to happen, and James didn't care. But when he got his chances, and when it Bill had to look over to the sidelines and find the hammer that would break the glass to get him into the game, because that's the way it seemed that so often it was break only in terms of
Right.
playoff football.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was there and he stepped up, and the country saw this. The world saw this. They saw what James White meant to this team and what he was capable of doing. If James White was a bell cow back, we might not have had him for so long. We might not have won 3 Super Bowls while he was here, even though the first one he was inactive for.
Yeah.
But he
But
was
Super
still
Bowl
there.
51, like
Right,
what would have happened there,
right.
you know?
We would not be talking about the legend of Tom Brady if it
Yeah.
wasn't for James White. He didn't get the MVP in that game. He probably should have,
Yeah.
but you could have split it up any way you wanted to. But he was phenomenal in that game. I have never seen a performance like that out of a running back on that kind of stage before, and I probably never will again.
Yeah, I agree. And we do have a question from Chris Goodwin. He says, "Is the white
Ah,
news why the
Chris.
Patriots drafted 2 running backs?" And I think you kind of alluded to it a little bit, like, but I would say yes. I think that Belichick, when he gave James the
Right.
contract, the 2-year contract, that he kind of already saw the writing on the wall, and that was why he double dipped,
Yeah.
specifically with 2 running backs that are known for doing the exact things they had James White doing,
Right.
being a passing back. So, um, he wouldn't have done that, I don't think. And what's crazy about this? Okay, I have to talk about this for a second. I
Okay.
remember pre-draft. I am not a college football person. Okay, so I don't know a lot, but I remember I wrote an article saying, should the Patriots draft a running back this year? And people thought I was absolutely insane for
Yeah.
even
Well,
suggesting it.
there are a lot of crazy people that follow you because
Yes.
this is what Bill does. So when you
Yeah.
want to look at what how Bill is going to attack a draft, you have to look at not what he needs this year, but what he's going to need next year. And
Mhm.
he had players that are coming up on. He knew James White was hurt. He has another running back that is coming up on the last year of his contract. This is what he does. This is how he goes about it. So that article was brilliant, just brilliant.
Yeah. I was ahead of the curve because I was like,
You
look, guys,
are,
they double dipped. I wasn't
yeah,
crazy.
way ahead
Um,
of the curve. They're on
yeah.
dead man's curve, and you're already around it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I'm like, okay, now I want to know what those people think now because they haven't said anything to me, since we saw what happened.
Yeah.
Um, but I did want to talk to you too as well. So yesterday, Buddy and I were on our new
Mm-hmm.
show that we will be doing on when pregame. So
Yep.
yesterday it was before the Giants game. So we talked a little bit about what our pregame thoughts were. And like the biggest thing that people were talking about was the fact that the Giants decided to play their starters at the
Yeah.
beginning. And I think it went for 2 drives. What did you
Mm-hmm.
think about that? Because the Patriots obviously, we knew for a few days they were not doing that. And then of
This
course
is
with how Dayball had them playing, it was almost
right.
like, what are we doing here?
It's not Dayball. It's really not. There's no hatred there. This is Wink Martindale. Okay, this is
Mhm.
what Wink does. Okay, he plays his starters. He goes all out. He blitzes on every single down. This is Wink. Okay, this is
Mhm.
what Wink does. And so, no, I wasn't really shocked about it. Wink probably talked Dayball into playing his starters more often, but I think that what we got from the second stringers against the Giant starters, even for a couple of series, was
Mhm.
really promising. Okay, I'll put it at promising. There were some guys that had some missteps. There was still you still saw some problems in the guard play. But other than that, it was really promising, especially for a bunch of guys that are a little bit further down the depth chart than we're supposedly going to see coming up in the next couple of weeks.
I know I was actually pleasantly surprised. I was just talking to Buddy before we went live, and I was saying I wasn't able to see, I think, like the first 30 or 45 minutes of the game, like of actual time, not game time.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just was reading the tweets and seeing, I was surprised that people were having such a good reaction to it because again, I couldn't see it. So I was like
Right,
double checking with people and they were like,
right.
"Okay, the Giant starters are in." And I'm like, "Okay, so wait, the Patriots defense is actually doing well against the starters? Like, can you let me know?" So that was really exciting because
Right,
I think that there was a lot more hope for the offense this season. The defense was completely
right.
underrated, and what we've seen so far is the
You know,
opposite.
this, this gives me hope on the other side of the ball when we've been talking about the ineptitude
Hmm.
of the Patriots offense so far. It's really been beaten home how poor this Patriots offense looks. And I went into this last night and I said, okay, just to give credit to Claire Cooper, partner on One Patriots Place, who brought this subject up last week. Could it possibly be that our defense is this good? And
Hmm.
even though those starters weren't playing either, this defense did look excellent last night. They really did. You have to get past the box score of how many yards the Patriots gave up on the ground and the way that worked out. Sometimes that's by design, people.
Hmm.
Giving a yep, go ahead, run all day, run all
Yeah.
day. We'll hopefully we'll stop it, but we're going to keep you out of the end zone. And but no, I was thoroughly surprised at the effort and the continuity that happened on at all three levels.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. I felt a lot more optimistic after that game. I think,
Yep.
I was worried about what we were going to see, especially with no starters playing, which wasn't surprising to me, but apparently to some people in the Boston media it was very surprising.
Yeah.
Um but the fact, like you said, that they were able to hold their own at least for those two drives against the Giant starters, very
Right.
promising. And if let's just jump to the defensive performances, because we were
Okay.
getting into that already. So on both sides of the ball for me, and I'm sure you agree, I feel like it was a
Hmm.
complete showcase of young talent, whether they were
Right.
rookies or just young guys that we haven't seen yet.
Yep.
Um, I have some of the stats for you. This is box score stats, just for
Okay.
people who haven't seen, but they did completely trump the Giants defense altogether.
Right.
So there was 77 total tackles, a sack by Uche, which was helped by Sam Roberts, which we can
Right.
talk about him in a
Thank you.
second. Two tackles for a loss, which were Jalen Elliott
Jalen
and
Elliott.
Uche. Six passes defended and four quarterback hits. That is the thing that excited me the most, I have to
Right.
say, because before the game, we were talking about what positions we were most looking forward to seeing, and what we were hoping to see
Yep.
from them. And mine was the edge in rushing the passer. I was
Right.
like, okay, we know that we have Judon, but who's going to line up with Judon? And we know what happened when Judon fell off in the last handful of games.
Yeah.
So the fact that we were able to see that, and it was with Daniel Jones.
Right.
I mean, we not that Daniel Jones is an elite quarterback by any means,
No, but
but
still,
it's
he's a
yeah.
veteran quarterback. He's a
Mhm.
veteran, savvy quarterback who has seen these different looks, these different formations. Wasn't a rookie out there. These guys weren't going up against rookie linemen, and they were getting to the quarterback. This was an issue all year last year,
Yep.
and we saw that at least for last night. The Patriots Nation can exhale just a little bit, just a
Yeah.
little bit, a little bit.
Yeah, and what I thought was really nice was this, like I mentioned, Sam Roberts,
Yep.
very under the radar guy, not having a tremendous camp. I mean, you've basically
Yep.
not really heard anything about him, but he was applying pressure so
Yep.
hard every single drive that he was in there for. I think at one point he even blew up a drive because he was
Right.
just like getting to the quarterback. And so that was nice to see, because the
Yeah.
defense has been
I
all the talk from camp, but
Right. Roberts
not him.
Roberts lived in the backfield last night, and it
Yeah.
was a beautiful thing. I said that this was a sneaky good pick
Mhm.
after the draft. He did. He got pressure on the quarterback. He caused a holding penalty. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. I love guys that can come in and offensive tackles, offensive linemen are just like, what am I going to do? Gotta
Yeah.
hold him, otherwise he's going to kill my quarterback. And that's what happened last night.
Mhm.
It just seemed like it was relentless. Every time he was in the game, he was doing something. Whether it was early pressure that resulted in that Uche sack in the first quarter, he was there all afternoon. It was almost to the point where you thought that you should just give him a Giants jersey, because that's
Yeah.
how much he was back there.
Mhm. And I'm excited to see next week. Like I was when I was doing the pre-show notes, I was thinking, it's they have the weekend off today and the
Yeah,
entire weekend. They won't
I
be
don't get that.
practicing.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
get that.
wasn't
I'm not
thrilled about
happy.
that.
I'm not happy. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, what
It's the
happened to no
second
days off, Bill?
Yeah,
Okay. This
this
is
is
the
now
second
2
weekend in
weekends
a
in a
row.
row.
I'm
Right,
sorry.
yeah.
I keep stepping on you.
No, it's
And
fine.
it's your
I do the same
show.
thing. I do
It's
the
your
same
show.
thing. But I wasn't excited about that, but I am interested to see if that can continue
Yep.
because that looked really great, but it is still the Giants who are kind of in like the midst of like a transition. So even if it was against the starters, I'm trying to remain somewhat neutral. I want to be excited, but not overly optimistic. You know what I mean?
Don't. Our fans
Yeah,
don't like that. The
I
people that
know.
listen to us and follow us, they don't like it when we're neutral. They
I
don't.
know.
They don't
I
like
know. And
when I
that's,
take a step back and look at it, objectively. What the
yeah,
hell are you doing, Murph?
I know.
We
Well, and
depend on you.
when I
Go
try to
out
be
go out there.
optimistic, it's annoying too to people.
Yeah, I know. That's
But
true.
also I want to talk about the undrafted free agent that they signing that a lot of people were saying they think is the favorite to make the team and continue that
Yeah,
undrafted free agent to make the team is LeBrian Ray. We've heard
yeah.
quite a bit of him from camp, but again, great last night. He showed really good in stopping the run. He was playing all over the line, almost like every position, and you would never know.
Okay.
Um, I guess so. Again, then there's Mac Wilson. He was athletic and
Oh
fast. He
my
was
God.
everywhere.
Oh my God.
Another great
What a
signing.
W. What a W of a trade
Mhm.
this is. Steve Balistreri and I both loved this trade when it happened.
Mhm.
But what this kid is able to come in here and do in this system is going to be phenomenal. It was a joy to watch him on the field from the first snap to the last that he
Yeah.
played. I don't have a snap count, people. I'm sorry, but what he did last night was just was it left me my jaw hanging. It really did.
Mhm.
Why excuse me, Cleveland would give up on him so quickly for Tiny Thor.
I know, and what's funny about it too is I remember when the trade first happened, I think people were sad about Winovich leaving because they just liked him as a person, but I remember people were not too thrilled about what the Patriots got back. They didn't think
Oh, he's
that
so
it was
cute, Chase Winovich. Oh
yeah,
my God,
I
look at
was
his
never a part of that
hair.
club,
No, I know.
just so
I
we're
know you
clear.
weren't. I know you
Yeah.
weren't.
But yeah, people weren't thrilled about the Mac Wilson trade back. So I'm
Right.
glad that he's, silenced those people because he's been doing great.
Right. He's just been fantastic. He's been a real spark plug on on the practice field. And what he did last night, his speed really stood out, and it translated. A lot of people were wondering after everything that came out from Cleveland whether or not that speed and aggressiveness translates to the field, and it really did. His speed made an impact on blitzes, which forced a hurry and an incomplete pass.
Mhm.
Was it Wilson that took that penalty for a late hit? I didn't even care.
No,
Didn't
was
it
it
didn't bother?
Wieland or Weiland, I think?
Oh, it was Wyland. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you, thank you. See, that's why I have pretty smart people here. And as pointed out by my cohort Steve, who's in the chat room. Thanks for coming, Steve. LeBrian Ray, who played multiple positions last night. He was all over the field. Just to back up to that.
Yeah. Well, and I liked what we saw from corners too. I don't want to talk or skip over that Malcolm Butler with the fumble recovery. So it was fun to finally be able to talk about the
Yeah.
Butler. The Butler is back. You're not thrilled with it?
Um. I question why Butler was on the field yesterday. I
Yeah.
really do. When
Mhm.
when other rookies were not. Um,
Mhm.
it kind of makes me feel like he's a little bit further down the depth chart than we'd all hoped. I had
Yeah.
said multiple times that I thought Butler was brought in here to mentor the younger kids.
Mhm.
But I thought it was going to be more of a, you know, watch me and emulate as opposed to coaching on the sidelines and during practice. Um, Butler got beat a couple of times.
Mhm.
He whiffed on a tackle. That's just rust, though. People,
Yeah.
I'm being optimistic that's rust and that's going to shake off. The man hasn't played football in a year. Maybe
Yeah.
Bill just wanted to get him those first live reps. But that first hit is always so important. Even though he whiffed on it, he came back and he showed pretty good, pretty well.
And what did you think about Jack Jones starting over Marcus Jones? I
Um,
know I know that people love both of them,
right.
but
I
do
am
is that
huge.
indicative of Marcus
No.
Jones being a starter?
Um, yeah, I do believe so. I do believe he's going to be on the other side of Mills on that depth chart. I did not see that coming. I
Mhm.
am a huge Jack Jones fan. After the Jack Jones uh, pick, I dove deep into all of his film from USC all the way through, and I loved everything that I saw. Maybe he's just picking it. Maybe I don't think he's just picking up the playbook a little bit quicker. Maybe
Mhm.
Bill likes him on the outside a bit more, but both of them are going to be integral in this defense over the next 5 years.
And I'm so happy that they've been doing well so far. I know it's only
Yeah,
one preseason game, but losing Gilmore and JC Jackson in one season really freaked me out. I was like, what are
did
we gonna do? Like that.
you see the contract that Gilmore signed?
Oh no, I
He
didn't
would
see
have
it.
he would go take a look at it. He would have made more money if he had just signed here in the
And
low
that's
ball offers that Bill gave him.
yeah,
He would have made more money if he just stayed here. And JC, God bless him. He's not a lockdown corner. I'm
yeah.
sorry. I have never called him a lockdown corner. And he's always been the guy that you've been able to put on somebody's number 2 or 3 and knock them down. But he's always been the guy that's had to have help over the top. God
Mhm.
bless anybody who goes out there and makes money. I'm happy with the cornerback rotation that we have going here, the defensive back rotation, I should say, that we have going here because it is pretty positionless.
Yeah, and it's funny mentioning the contract because Jackson even took a little bit less money, I think, or a little just for an extra year. It was
Mm-hmm.
because the Patriots offered 4 instead of 5.
Right.
But we'll see how he does. I know a lot of people don't think he's going to remain a top guy in
No.
LA, but we don't wish him
No.
badly, you
No.
know.
No. As long as he's
Um,
not playing the Patriots,
yeah,
ball out.
yeah, exactly. And all right, so moving on to more of the defense. What did you think about Jawan Williams? He looked pretty rough. He got beat for a
Yeah.
touchdown.
What I thought of Jawan Williams is what I've thought about Jawan Williams since he got here. This was a terrible selection. I don't know what Bill was thinking. And can we please just move on? Please,
Yeah.
pretty please.
I
There's
think a
got to be
lot of
somebody.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that last night. They felt like he kind of signed his like release last night, that it was just
Yeah.
that rough. And it's possible. I mean, he's not necessarily a guy that they need to keep around. They're getting pretty
Mm-hmm.
deep on the
Yeah.
depth chart in that area, so I wouldn't at all be surprised if that was just the end of
Right.
it for him.
He
Which
got beat clean for a touchdown at the goal line by Richie James. He whiffed it. He whiffed completely on an attempted jam at the line of scrimmage. He there was a face mask penalty that extended that Giants drive. Just going back and looking at some notes here. I'm sorry, people. I had a stroke when I was 19 years old, so I have to do this. Um, it's not good. It's not good.
So we do have a question here going back to Malcolm Butler. It's another lost soul.
Oh,
I believe his name is Jeff. I think it's Jeff, if I remember correctly. He said, "Sarah, could you see Malcolm Butler being cut?" Um, yes, I could. Only because I don't know that Belichick anticipated the rookies to come out and play as well as they have been so far. Granted, it's been one preseason game, and we've only seen a handful of really what they were doing. I mean, padded practices has been what, only 3 or 4 at this point. So, we haven't seen a lot of true competition yet, but
mm-hmm.
the fact that he was on the field last night and they said the starters were not playing doesn't bode well. But I don't know. I
it,
I think it's a great story. It would be
I
amazing if he could stay, but
See, I don't see him being cut. We'll
Yeah.
just play he said, she said here for a minute, folks. I
Okay.
don't see him being cut. This defensive backfield is so young,
Hmm.
especially at the cornerback position. I think Bill loves his veterans. He loves the guys that know the system and know what are going to be in the place that they need him to be. I think having that veteran presence in the locker room and in the meeting rooms and on the sidelines will keep him employed here because quite frankly he's not making a lot of cash. I
Yeah.
don't so
And
there's
his
that.
last season in Tennessee before he went to the Cardinals and then retired, it was the best season he had basically his entire career. So if they are able to just kind of shake off the rust, then I think it's
Hmm.
possible that they keep him and he could be phenomenal. So I
Right.
don't want to see him out, but I don't know. I really
Yeah,
don't know.
just don't
So we
know.
are.
And
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, we don't know at this point. This is educated guessing, and
Hmm.
but I just believe that the being the veteran that he is will keep him around this season. And like I said, the performance in the first quarter yesterday was nothing more that I believe than rust. He's
Yeah.
still just as quick as he was when he was in Tennessee. Maybe not as quick as he was when he was here in New England or leaving here in New England. That's why
Hmm.
he got paid the money that he did, and rightfully left for it because Bill was never going to pay him that kind of money.
Yeah. And Chris Goodwin mentions Malcolm Butler has experience of the Patriot system that is priceless for the younger players to learn from. Exactly.
Yep.
And that's probably, like Murph said, a big reason why he was brought back too. Given the fact Jackson left, Gilmore left, and Mills was only going into his second year with the team. And then
Yep.
they've double dipped in the draft and had two young guys come in. So that
That's it.
mentorship is very important.
Yeah,
Um,
I think Bill was highly was very surprised that both of those guys were available when
yeah.
when he chose them.
Yeah, and I
And
think
it
that's,
was
like, how the draft was in general. I think a lot of people
yeah,
were disappointed with the draft picks, but so far I feel like they're panning out pretty
yeah.
well.
You, you
And
you can't really tell on a draft until 2-3 years down the line,
yeah.
and we'll go back to John Williams and God, why did I have to bring the room down talking about him again? Get him out of here. Get him out
Yeah.
of here.
Well, and it'll be interesting to see when some of these first cuts are made if we, people can be cut at any moment, but
Right.
with a performance like that, I mean, I think that was
Right.
another collective Patriots thing last night
the
to where
longer
most
the
people were
longer
just
he's here,
disappointed.
the better chance he has, and it's just because if Bill likes you, and I believe that they've mended all bridges, he'll cut somebody early just to
Yeah.
do them a solid so they can get picked up somewhere else.
Yeah, and there was a lot of scouts at the game last night, for a bunch of teams. I don't remember exactly. I think it was like Ravens is one of them and
Yeah,
whatnot. So there was a lot of people looking at that game, and that does not look good for Williams, for
yeah,
example. So before we jump into the offensive side of the football, I gotta get our little plug in. We are here with Sara and Murph on E2G Sports. Check us out on the YouTube. Everything. Follow everybody. It's
yeah.
all brand new. There's tons of shows. We got
Are you
wrestling,
on the? Are
basketball,
we on
baseball.
YouTube right now? Are we
Yeah,
on the
we're on
YouTube too?
we're on YouTube and my YouTube.
What about Facebook? Did we get that? Did we
Facebook,
get on
Twitter,
Facebook? Oh my
we're
God!
everywhere.
See, Buddy doesn't put me on Facebook because I'm really, really, I don't know, blue.
You know what's
I can,
cool? Go ahead, go ahead.
what? No, no, no. It's your show. I'm just here.
Yesterday when we did the pregame show, Buddy was at the airport grill and they put us up on their TVs in there.
Yeah, how cool is that?
That was cool. I
I,
felt so
I heard
famous.
about that. Yeah,
I was like,
we're
wow,
sitting
this
there.
is what fame feels
Yeah, they're,
like.
you notice they're not doing that today with my mug sitting here, people. I've got the face for radio. Um,
Well, maybe we'll get there eventually.
yeah, I'm
So let's
old.
jump to the other side of the football, the offense. So
Yep.
I felt like it was actually pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised, from what we've heard and seen from camp so
Yeah.
far. The defense wasn't surprising at all, of course. We were
No.
expecting that based off of what we've heard, but the offense held their own pretty good. I mean, Bailey Zappi took a while to kind of get into the swing of things. It was a
Hmm.
little erratic, if
Yeah,
we're
the
being
first half,
honest.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah,
Zappy did a fantastic job. I thought, the Patriots didn't run a ton of their new stuff in the
Yeah.
first half of the game. I was a little surprised about that. Um, it tends to get me to believe that maybe this isn't an all in thing with it, but
Hmm.
once Hoyer came out, Hoyer looked like Hoyer.
Yeah.
It was great. He just matriculated down the field and scored a touchdown. Zappy looked a little nervous. He had some hot feet there at the
Hmm.
beginning, but he handled the pressure well. We'll get back to Wink Martindale, and I'm just gonna blitz the hell out of everybody. This is why Wink Martindale sucks. That's all he knows how to do is blitz everybody to death. But he handled it. He handled those situations really, really well. I don't have the numbers up in front of me, but I think he hit on over 70% of the
I'll pull
passes
it up.
that he threw while he was under pressure, and
Hmm.
and that's what you like to see. And coming from a rookie, that's fantastic.
So box score for Zappy. He was
Mhm.
19 of 32, 205, a touchdown and an interception, and only
Yep.
one sack, which was another thing
Right.
that was good because another terrible part of practice so far has been the offensive line. So they were
Hmm.
much better in protecting the quarterback last night, but the run game was a little bit off
Right.
again, averaging 2.9 yards per carry
Right.
last night. They really didn't get to do anything, and it was a handful of them in there: Pierre Strong Jr., Kevin Harris, JJ Taylor. So we saw a lot of different looks there, but
Right.
they just couldn't do anything.
That's it. They couldn't really do anything. I got it here. Zappy faced 17 blitzes last night on his 33 dropbacks. He
Hmm.
completed 75% of those passes for 135 yards. That's an 8.4 average, folks, with a touchdown and that stupid interception that had me hanging my head. Not sure
Yeah.
what he was thinking there. That was just rookie moments. But he used his feet to extend plays. And
Hmm.
that was really, really something that I didn't know about his game. And it was nice to see. It was nice to see a guy that was just mobile enough.
Yep.
Okay, who does that sound like, folks? Just mobile enough. It sounds like our first string quarterback and another guy who's got 7 Super Bowl rings. That
Hmm.
you don't have to run around. You don't have to be the Fields medal, okay, to be a successful quarterback. And that's what more of these guys miss than hit
Yep.
when you go out and pick them. I'll take a drop back passer who can move just well enough, who can manipulate the pocket just well enough, who can get outside on the rollouts, which I'm really looking forward to seeing in the next game. Maybe we'll see some more of this stretch stuff, and we'll get the guys rolling out. And I think they're going to be able to feast with that. And Zappy is a guy that does remind me a lot of Mac, and
Hmm.
that's what you want. Too
Yeah.
often in this league, you see one style of quarterback as the starter and a completely different style of quarterback as the backup. And that's why when you've got a lot of money on the game and you see somebody starting quarterback go out, you should not celebrate because
Yeah.
the guy behind them, you have not planned for him all week long. It is a completely different game plan that's going to get switched to. We're going to take this book and we're going to throw it over here and we're going to grab another book and then we're going to go out and we're going to beat you. So
Yeah.
that's what happens. But Zappy is this. I don't want to say the exact same style, but they can definitely work within the same system without Bill having to do that switch.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people were hoping that he was going to, you
Mm-hmm.
know, get more into the super mobile quarterback. But I have concerns over that in general as the league is kind of morphing into that
Yep.
type of play. And as entertaining as it is, and I love Lamar
Is it?
Jackson. Yeah, I mean, for most people
Is
it's
it?
very entertaining. But I think that people are forgetting the, we haven't seen a lot of players who play like that their entire
Mm-hmm.
careers and
Last.
the longevity of it.
Right.
Right, exactly. And so
They don't
you,
last.
yeah, it's not like I'm saying Patrick Mahomes is Cam Newton. I'm not saying that at all. But we have Cam Newton who's just a little over 30 and he's already done.
Yep.
And a lot of that is because of injuries that he sustained from running the football so much.
Right.
So I know that the pocket, traditional pocket passer is
Hmm.
not something that everybody likes. But at this point, it's like from a longevity standpoint, from a safety standpoint, I feel like I would be more on board with that than anything else.
Yeah, it's really few and far between these guys that have long careers. Michael Vick had a pretty long career, even though there was that breakup during prison. Staubach was a mobile quarterback who played an extremely long time. It seemed, at least when I was a kid, it seemed like a really long time when he wasn't in the Navy. Steve McNair did. Steve Young had a long career, but
Mhm.
guys like Cordell Stewart and you can go back. Who am I thinking of? Help me out. The guy that was Robert Williams. No, in Washington. Damn it.
I can't.
Damn
I
it.
can't help you.
Okay, that's all right. Never
Yeah.
mind. But you're just to get back to it. I tried to give examples, but you're right. These
Hmm.
these guys are one hit away from never playing the game again or never
Yeah.
being able to do what they do that makes them special.
Yeah.
Okay, it really is. They need this element. It seems like they can't morph into certain drop back passers, and once the knee goes or two, it's over. It's
Yeah.
really over. And you don't have to look at Cam Newton's year here in New England. You can look back to
Yeah.
the last 2 to 3 years that he was in Carolina, that it just wasn't happening anymore. He came out gangbusters, won an MVP, and then what happened after that? You get to the Super Bowl, and then don't go for a fumble, and your
Yeah.
career's basically over.
Yeah, it was, yeah, and I would watch a lot of Panthers games because it was before I had the NFL Sunday ticket, so I would watch whatever was on television, and it was scary. Sometimes it's really scary to watch a quarterback run. I remember even Brady, who we know is slow when
Yep.
he tries to take off, but it is scary. Like you're just like, okay, well now you're running. They can tackle you in any way that they want
Right.
to. So it's like I don't want to be sitting there, biting my fingernails off because my quarterback is deciding to leave with the football. Like,
Right.
I mean,
When
it's worked for Kansas City so far, but
Right. It has. It really has. Brian Martin here in the chat room brings up a point that Cam gets injured in dirty ways that nobody's talking about.
mhm,
That's true, but you can probably say that about almost any quarterback. Tom Brady got hurt in a dirty way.
yeah,
Um, a lot of these players get done wrong by defensive ball players. I You go back and you look at Gronkowski. Every time that he got tackled, it was in a dirty way.
it really
Okay, I
was.
used to always say there's 3 feet of Rob Gronkowski in between his head and his knees
Yep.
that people could go for, and they didn't. They went for his knees every single time on every
Or his
single
back.
play, or
Like
his
they
back.
when they would get him from
Right.
the front and the
And
back.
that's why we no longer get to see Rob Gronkowski anymore, because he's just tired of
Mhm.
recuperating.
Yep.
But no, you're right. It's a good point, Brian. He does get hurt in dirty ways, but a lot of ball players do. And once you leave that pocket, you leave yourself open to get hit in any way, shape, or form that defenders want to do. You've got to change the rules if you want that to end.
Yeah, I think some of the plays that probably stand out with Cam would not
Hmm.
be the same now. I think that they probably would. Hopefully, I would like to believe that they would be flagged because a lot of the stuff that happened to Cam too that I can recall, it was in the head too.
Yeah, he
And
did. He
that's
took a lot
that.
of shots to the head. You're right.
Yeah, and they weren't called. So I would like to believe that we're trend towards a way where that's not going to be the case anymore. But
Yep.
we'll see because the rules change every year. The refs decide to care about one thing this year and not the next. So
Right.
you never know.
It's whatever
Um,
they tell them to focus on. Like last night when we
yeah.
heard about, did how did they put it? Uh, they're trying to cut down on the holding and grab of
Oh,
wide
yeah.
receivers. Do you want to talk about the wide receivers?
Yes, that's what I was just gonna say. I wanted to get into those
Hey,
because again,
look at us.
showcase
Look at
of
us.
young talent, not just the rookies, but the young talent. Because I didn't realize that little Jordan Humphrey was in his 3rd season. I did not
Yeah.
realize that.
Yep. He's been
Um,
around for a little bit. And
yeah, so him and Trey Nixon,
yep.
Thornton.
Thornton, all a fantastic job last night. You know, the the veterans didn't see the field at all.
Yeah.
We all know that by now. But Christian Wilkerson had 8 catches for 99 yards. Nixon had 4 for 81 yards. Just to let you know, folks, I'm not a huge Trey Nixon fan. I'm not. I
Okay.
don't
So
like
he's a
the way he
fan
kept.
favorite right now too.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not. So I might as well keep sticking down that road. Everybody
Yeah.
loves Trey Nixon because he works so hard and he gets open and he can't catch a ball. People, he can't use his hands. He has no hands. Every girlfriend that has ever left Trey Nixon has said it's his hands. He doesn't know what to do with his hands, and
Mhm.
he catches that ball against his chest the way we all learned 40 years ago playing Pop Warner football, and that's what he does. And too many balls get dropped.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not a huge fan of Trey Nixon. Just going back and he did bounce back from a poor first half. Humphrey had a really strong week of practice last week,
Mhm.
and he caught Zappy's touchdown of the night, beating his man one-on-one. Zappy and him both um, noticed that there was zero coverage, and let's go get it, and it worked out. Humphrey is somebody that I really like, and I believe has a spot on this roster, maybe as a big slot guy, move him
Mhm.
on the outside. I really liked it, and the fact that he recognized that zero coverage so quick, and him and Zappy were on the same page, I really enjoyed that. It shows that they've been working. And Tyquan Thornton, what do you really want to say? Somebody said this morning that he's super twitchy, and I really
Mhm.
like that. It's
Mhm.
not just straight line speed. They noticed that he was getting off the line of scrimmage in a way that they didn't think that he was going to be able to do at the pro level, because he did play at a smaller school and didn't maybe see the size and the strength that he was going to here. But I loved his game. It would have been nice
Yep.
if that catch that he had dropped in the first quarter, he had made that. These are little things that he's going to learn. His
Yeah.
hands were out a bit too soon.
Mhm.
Randy Moss used to always talk about late hands, late hands. Look back for the ball, but late hands just when they're right there. His hands were out there as he was tracking the ball, and it's coming to him. And the DB knew that was happening, and he had a chance to get in there and swipe it away. This is
Yeah.
something that hopefully by week 3 and week 4, he's figured out. What do you have back there? Do you have a dog or a cat like
Me?
swimming around? Yeah. Do you have a cat?
I do. Oh, is she on the floor? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I was like,
That's
"Where?
good.
Where?"
Yeah. But no, he's he's going to prove a lot of people wrong
Yeah.
about Bill as to being able to draft and develop wide receivers. Bill
Yeah.
Bill focused on this kid. There were higher there were more let's just say it. There were more talented people out there
Yeah.
when he was picked.
Mhm.
There's no doubt about that, folks. But Bill picked somebody that he felt could come in here and do what he needed to do. Wasn't going to be the diva screaming, "Get me the ball! Get me the ball! Why am I not
Yeah.
getting the goddamn ball?" Okay.
Mhm.
If he can learn to fight for a couple of for jump balls and get comfortable, we'll just give him time. This kid is going to go down as one of the best to ever play here. I'm telling you right now.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
And
it
and I
really would.
think what was great a lot about last night is because a lot of the conversation around him has been about his speed, which obviously
Right,
shouldn't be ignored because, I mean, he had one of
right,
the fastest times at the 40 at the combine,
right.
and,
Ever.
a lot of people wanted to say that that was the only reason he was drafted, but I think last night he showed he can do a lot more than that.
Right.
I felt
His
like his
his route
speed
running. Oh,
his yeah, and his he gained good separation,
yep.
um, and I feel like almost his speed could be working against him sometimes. I think that he, like, would overshoot, and it was like, "Okay, so that speed is great,
It
but
was
we gotta
good.
contain it
Yeah. Yep.
because
Could
you
could
know,
you could
you got
you yep.
your defender
Could
is
you
10
not hit
yards back."
third gear?
Yeah,
Right. Could you not hit
yeah,
third gear just yet, son?
yeah,
Get the
exactly, like, wait
ball
until
and
you
then go into
catch the
third.
ball
Yep. That's it.
and then
What
go, yeah,
but
and
he did. He's
yeah,
talking he he's definitely somebody that's going to outrun the arm that's trying to get him the ball at times. And
Hmm.
he's going to have to learn to use leverage and use his height to make those plays, and not just, the speed, because it's going to be a progression, because as you see, on a lot of plays he's going to be the third choice, and you've got to
Hmm.
wait up to before you make that move, so a quarterback can go through his progressions and see, oh yeah, there he is down the field wide open.
Yeah. And I was just excited to see
Yep.
it because, the receivers I think was a big issue. People wanted them to take a receiver in the first round and they had
Right.
almost every one of them
Yeah.
at the
Available.
helm that they could pick from.
Hmm.
And they didn't go that way. Of course, we know the drama that revolves Cole Strange.
Right.
Um, but
Stop,
this is
people. Stop.
yeah, it's panning out so far,
Right.
and the trade for Devontae Parker is another aspect that I think people, continuously forget. We haven't even
Hmm.
seen him yet in a game. So, the fact that we have all these young guys that are being given a chance and we're doing great last night, it makes me a lot more hopeful for the
Yeah.
offense as a
If
whole.
If Parker can stay healthy, this offense is
Yes.
going to be something fierce. It really
Yeah.
is.
The one big concern I do have, though, and we kind of touched on the running backs a little, is they did try to involve them in the passing game last night, and that did not work
Yeah.
either. So,
Yeah.
what do we think is going to happen there? Because I know, we
It's
mentioned
going to
Pierre Strong
continue. Yep,
and
they're
Kevin
young,
Harris.
they're kids. Yep, they're
Yeah.
young, they're kids.
Hmm.
It's going to happen. These guys can both catch balls out of the backfield. The only worry that I had was like with Pierre picking up blitzes, with
Hmm.
Pierre blocking. If you can't block, you are not going to be able to play for Bill Belichick. You're
Yeah.
just not.
Hmm.
You'll be a healthy game day scratch. So
Yeah.
he's really got to fix that. He's got, you can't let up those pressures. You can't allow a defense to force balls out early. Um, you've got to be able to take somebody out with a chip block and then get out into your space for as a check down. And we didn't see a lot of that last night. Like I said, it's game one for these kids,
Hmm.
and let's just give it some time. That's
And
all.
we have to remember too, Stevenson had mentioned, Beantown Breakdown says that his hot take for the season is Stevenson will take the James White third down role, which is possible.
Yeah.
Stevenson has been working on, he said, his pass catching. And
Right.
then, of course, we can't forget about Ty Montgomery, who has
Yeah.
been used everywhere in training camp
Right.
so far. So there's that possibility too.
That's it. But
Um,
love Ramondre,
yes.
and I couldn't agree more with breakdown guy there. It's this is going to be a breakout year for him.
Hmm.
I can see 1,400 combined yards out of him if he's used in the way that I think that he's going to be used and in the way that you do. But it's not, the thing is, it's not just a third down role with Stevenson.
Hmm.
He's a three down back. He's not a third down change of pace guy, catch the ball out of the backfield guy. Ramondre is a three down back.
Hmm. Well, and we'll see too what I'm interested in. I think we talked about it. I think maybe when I was on One Patriots Place that
Mm-hmm.
Damian Harris is on the last year of his contract,
Right.
and we know that Bill has a tendency to
Bill
kind of try
cuts
to
it down.
fade those people down. So it'll be
Right.
interesting to see where his mindset is as far as retaining Harris or just boosting
Right.
Stevenson. And we'll see
We
that pretty
talked.
soon.
Yeah, we talked that also that Harris might be on the trade block. We said this
Yeah.
before. A lot of other people on the national level did, that if Ramondre looks good enough, Bill has no problem with moving on with somebody in the last year of their deal if he thinks that he's going to get something more for them in a trade than what they would get if they walked away as a free agent. And if he doesn't fit into this offense in a prominent role,
Hmm.
he might get moved. He actually
Yeah.
might get moved. Now, of course, we said this before James White went and retired, but
I
it's
know.
not as crowded in that running backs room as it was before. And in my heart of hearts, I don't believe that he will get traded. Bill's been caught with his pants down at the running back position heading into the playoffs on more than one occasion. I don't think he's going to let it happen again.
Well, and of course, then we have to see a lot of it's going to be dependent too on the development of the rookies and where he views them to be at. Because if he
Right,
doesn't view them to be, starting level, then wouldn't make
right.
any sense to trade him.
Nope.
So, I want to talk about like the big story of the evening, which was Matt Patricia and Joe Judge
Okay.
rotating play calling duties.
Yeah.
So it
Okay.
seemed like Patricia was calling the plays when Hoyer was on the field. Judge was taking over when Zappy was on the field. Belichick was not thrilled to be answering the questions in the post game. I know
Huge
that
thumbs
reporters
up
have
to
to.
my man Phil A. Perry. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that people have to ask the questions, but you know that Belichick's not going to give you anything. He'll give you a sound bite, but he's not going to give you too many details. So, what is your feeling on that? Do you think that it means anything? Do you think because Patricia was calling the starting offense for the game last night that he's maybe leaning towards more
All
being
right.
the play
Here's
caller?
here's here's my theory. Okay.
Mhm.
Joe Judge is the quarterback's coach.
Mhm.
Okay. In the first quarter of this game, the quarterback's coach didn't play a role whatsoever. Brian Hoyer doesn't need to hear anything from Joe Judge.
Yeah.
Okay. Bailey Zappi does. Bailey
Right.
Zappi is very comfortable, is more comfortable with Judge in his ear probably than he is with Patricia in his ear. Matt Patricia is the play caller of this team, folks. That's
Mhm.
that's the way it is. If all things go the way they're supposed to go, Bailey Zappi will never see the field this year at all. And what
Mhm.
this all was a familiarity right now. Bill wanted Zappy to feel comfortable out there, so he gave him a comforting voice. He gave him a voice that he's been hearing since the day he was drafted, and Joe Judge came back here and was named the quarterback's coach. So that's it. That's the end of it. I said 3 months ago that Matt Patricia was going to end up being the play caller. Bill will be the OC. Matt, they will map everything out on Thursdays before games as to what they want to do and how they want to run it. And Patricia will be calling the plays. He will be the one standing there with the Waffle House menu in front of him, so nobody can see what he's talking about. And that's just it. That's it. This is much ado about nothing.
I remember I had tweeted that I wasn't too thrilled about
Yeah.
Patricia coming back, and I remember you coming for me specifically on Twitter, being like, "Well, what did you want them to do, Sarah?
What
Who's
did you
better?"
want them to do?
Yeah,
What
I mean,
honestly? What did
I
you? I didn't come
understand.
for you. I just asked a question. Why do
I
people
mean,
always think that I'm coming for them? It's because
oh no,
the
no, no.
huge
I was
green
just,
face that I have. Um, but
oh
no,
yeah,
it's true.
I-
Everybody keeps talking about, well, you should have had this guy, or you should have had that guy. Well, this guy or that guy would have been here for a year. Okay, they would have been
yeah,
here for a year. Mac would have made them look really, really good, and then they would have been off at a head coaching job somewhere else. And Mac Jones would have been looking at his third offensive coordinator in 3 years. Okay, the
hmm
reason these guys are here is because they're loyal. Bill knows they will be here for the next 4 or 5 years and not go toddling off again for another job. These are
yeah.
guys that know his system, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not. Um, that's just the way that's just the way it is. There was really nobody out there to bring in. There was no
And
one.
so many people wanted Bill O'Brien,
Yeah,
which I was shocked about, honestly, because I know people thought I was crazy for saying this as well, but it's true. A lot of people wanted Josh McDaniels gone for years. It wasn't just after last year. It's been years that people wanted him gone.
right.
But I remember people not being thrilled with Bill O'Brien
No,
either.
but
So,
nobody's ever
I mean, I
thrilled
get the
with an OC unless you're winning a Super
yeah,
Bowl. They're not thrilled with it. Tom Brady is not thrilled with Bill O'Brien as an offensive coordinator. That's why
right.
you'd see him screaming at him on the sidelines.
Yeah.
Um, the, folks. Bill O'Brien was somebody that went to Alabama and had to learn the offense from who? Mac Jones. Mac Jones
Mm-hmm.
taught him that offense. Bill O'Brien is a guy who went down to Houston and with some of the most talented players on the planet couldn't get it done. Okay, and it's true. I like Bill O'Brien. It's an Irish thing. We see things in the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get this job done, get the W, and then go have a beer. But it didn't fit here. It didn't work here. Okay, I don't want to hear about Bill looking over his shoulder or anything like. Bill doesn't have to look over his shoulder at anybody. All right, Bill did this because this is going to be the continuity that he needs going forward with the young quarterback like this. I understand that the Shanahan McVay stretch system that they're trying to input
Mm-hmm.
maybe doesn't go with the statement that I'm having, but at least he's hearing things from the same people at the same time for his entire career here, hopefully.
And I think that's kind of an aspect that people are forgetting too. Both Patricia and Judge obviously have not had successful head coaching tenures, but
A lot of
they
guys
have
haven't.
right. And but they've worked a lot and have been successful when working with Belichick.
Right.
So if Jones is going to have a new coordinator or have to deal with a few new coordinators since McDaniel's
Right.
left, it's best that they're people who already understand Belichick, who have
Yeah.
already worked with him and have been successful with him.
That's
So
it.
it's
That's it.
I
Stop
mean
overthinking it.
yeah, I think we
Stop
just have to
overthinking it, folks.
we have to see what's happening before we start jumping to conclusions that it's bad.
Right.
Um, how
Brilliant.
they
That's a
how they
great.
perform
Yep. That
how
was
they
great.
perform as a head coach doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to translate to how they will be in a smaller
That's
role,
it.
a much smaller role.
Right. There are plenty of guys out here who are fantastic OCs that do not make good head coaches or
Yeah.
defensive coordinators. It just doesn't translate. You have to be a special kind of person to be a head coach in the NFL. I could be a coach in the NFL. All right. But I don't think that I could be a defensive coordinator in the NFL. I can draw it
Yeah.
up, but I can't. It's about balance. It's about balancing egos and times and drafts and everything else. That's something that I think that not a lot of people are able to do. It just does not translate always. These guys are better coordinators or coaches than they are head coaches.
Mhm. Well, I mean, look
So,
at what happened with McDaniels. It took him
mm,
another, what, 10, 15 years until he became
right,
another head coach, and he had opportunities between then, and if they
right.
had looked at his first stint, it wasn't good.
No, it was not good. And he came back here and he lived and he learned and he turned down bad situations. I'm sorry, Colts. Who the hell wants to go work for Jim Irsay? Who?
Mm,
I don't.
mm,
I
yeah,
don't. It's a mess down there.
yeah,
God, you never know what you're going to walk into with your owner. He waited for the right opportunity and took the right job. He took the. I mean, you can say the thing about Little Davis there, but I mean, at least he's sober.
yeah. So, what is your general reaction to the game? Now that we've
Uh,
seen it, we've talked about it, we've digested it. How are you feeling overall? Did you feel
um,
more
the,
positives than negatives?
No, the offensive line still gives me a tad bit of pause.
Mhm.
I'm hearing rumors that Isaiah Wynn does not like being moved back over to the right side. Something that I said a long time ago that he wasn't going to appreciate this because left tackles make more money than right tackles, and he's in a
Mhm.
contract year. Um, the injuries that happened on the offensive line, I'm really not sure it's as deep as it needs to be. Wynn has had injury problems, and we all
Yeah.
know over on the other side, there's been a lot of with Trent Brown. There's been a lot of injury problems. So yeah, it's still the offensive line that bugs me. But in total, I like what I saw last night. I loved the play from the defensive line. The young linebackers, for the most part, stepped up. Cam McGrone didn't have a fantastic. A lot of people are talking about him. I don't think he had a really good game. There were some wide receivers that were left wide open that we were lucky that balls dropped and got stripped from.
Yeah.
But it's game one. My word is optimistic. I'm
Yeah.
optimistic.
I
And I
like
think,
that.
thank you. I love when a woman tells me she likes that. It's there I go back to HR. Um, they but no, I liked what I saw from a depth standpoint at almost every position on the field today, with the exception of the offensive line. And I grade the offensive line a lot harder than everybody else. As you can see, people, I am an offensive line shaped person, and that's what I did my entire life. Um, so no, optimistic is what I have to say. You look at the weapons; they did well. We didn't run the ball very well. You could put that on the offensive line if you want to,
Mm-hmm.
and but the receivers did well. We only had one tight end, so we saw a lot of 11 personnel. I want to see going forward how much 12 personnel that Bill's going to get into. I'm not sure it's going to be a lot, because I still believe in my heart of hearts that Mac Jones is at his best when you were spread out.
Yeah. You know what? You mentioned the tight end. I want to talk about the fact that he was in on every offensive snap because he was the only tight end
He's the only tight end.
available. That
Yep,
was crazy.
that was nuts. That
Yeah.
was nuts. But when you're the only guy, maybe that's what you need to do, and to make an impression, especially looking at a roster where you might only keep two tight ends.
Yeah. I know that's a position that they don't have to worry about at all. So the fact that he was out there and was he was doing
Right.
fine. I mean, he didn't like super participate in the
No,
game, but
no, he got his
it's not
blocks
easy
in.
to do.
Yep, he ran
Yeah.
his routes and did what he was supposed to do, and that's what you expect out of a guy trying to make a squad.
And so basically, I could reiterate everything that you said. And then, of course, Beantown Breakdown says it was overall a good showing, lots of potential, but things need to be cleaned up around the edges. Completely agree, which, of course, like we've said a million times, it was the first preseason game. I
Yep.
was just excited and happy with um, that the offense wasn't just a complete no show because that's
Right.
what we've been seeing. So the fact that that didn't happen, I'm just like, okay, then it was fine,
Yep.
like we talked about the defense and that's been good. So I feel like a lot of worries were lessened, but there's still some concerns. But there's
Uh,
plenty of time, guys. It's August
and
12th.
I was happy with special teams.
Yes. I know. Can you believe that that was a mess last year? That
Yeah,
is so
that,
hard to
that yeah,
say.
it really is. It
It,
really is. There was a hiccup there, one hiccup there. I can't pull it off the top of my head, but other than that, I do.
oh
And
yeah, they
and
got a penalty, right?
yeah, there was a
Yeah.
penalty. Um, so what are you going to do? I'm going to bring back up Brian Martin over here in the chat room. He said we can get 11 wins as
Hmm.
to how things are going. I agree. I believe that this is an 11-win team with a little bit of luck. That it could be a 12-win team.
Which I like. I think there's kind of, this is going to be something that's going to change from game to game as it
Yep.
always does. But when I tweeted this question out, weeks ago,
Yep.
I wasn't getting a very optimistic response. I saw people who
No.
were saying that we'd be lucky to get 10.
Yep.
I saw
Four
people
and
thinking,
13. Yep.
yeah,
I saw 4 and 13.
yeah. So, and then, the conspiracy surrounding the offensive coordinator thing
Yep.
about Belichick is going to purposely tank this year because he wants a good
Oh
position in the
no.
draft.
No,
Bizarre to me
no,
because
that's
we've
moronic. It's
we've
submor. Anybody who says that is submoronic.
well, and
That's
this isn't the first time that Belichick is going into a season without official titles. So
right.
I know that a lot of the fans specifically on Twitter are younger, even, my age or younger than me. And so it's
What do you
maybe
like?
something that
11?
you don't remember, you don't recall, but this isn't the
Yeah,
first time this has happened. So
yeah.
the response from the fans and the media is a little bit confusing to me.
It's
But
impatience. Okay.
yeah,
Arguably, the Patriots have lost the best three players to ever play their position over the last
yeah,
3 years.
yeah.
Okay. I'd like to see anybody come back and be a Super Bowl contender after that has happened, folks.
Hmm.
It just doesn't. Okay. First, Gronk retired, then Brady moved on, and then we lost Edelman to
Yep.
injury. Okay. You can bring up other names, you can say whatever you want. To me, those are the best three players to ever play their positions in the NFL. Um, you don't just shake that off. You don't
Yeah.
just bring in another. Who comes in with a rookie quarterback and goes directly to the Super Bowl? It doesn't happen. And
Yeah.
once in a while happen in their second year, Dan Marino, and then he never gets back there. So let's just relax. Let's just be a little patient and allow Bill to rebuild. Okay, it happened
Yep.
really fast the first time around because he had some real talent, especially on the defensive side of the ball, which is where Bill excels.
Hmm.
And so let's just give it, just a smidge more time. Okay, they get to the playoffs this year, they win a game, maybe they lose in the division round, maybe they get lucky and they lose in the AFC title game. Okay, and let's just see what happens next year and the year after. It's called team building. It's not a
Yep.
fantasy league. It's not a
Hmm.
fantasy league.
Yeah. I mean, and we were spoiled for 20
Yeah.
years, you know,
Yep.
and it's hard to deal with the opposite side now,
It
but
is. It is for you.
yeah,
It
yes,
is. It is
for the
for
younger
people.
fans.
Yeah, it
Yes.
is for. It is for the guy, the kids out there. I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Not
No, no,
not
no.
saying
Yeah.
this in a disparaging way. I'm not calling anybody a child. But if you're in your 30s right now, you're a grown ass adult. But in Patriot time, you're still a kid. Okay,
Yeah.
a lot of us go back to the 80s and the 70s and even the 60s. With
Hmm.
this team, we've been through it. I mean, in 2001, I said to myself, if the Patriots win one title, they
Yeah.
take home the Lombardi once, I will die a happy man. They've given me six. I can sit back and wait.
Hmm.
Okay, I can wait for the next time around. And you folks have got to realize that this never happens. The 20-year
Yeah.
run that the Patriots went on does not happen. It has never happened in sport. Okay, so just be if they get back. And the other thing is when folks are talking about how Tom Brady left and he completely, he just went right back to a Super Bowl and keep Tom Brady. Do you think if Bob Kraft had decided to stick with Tom Brady and let Bill Belichick walk, there isn't a single owner in the NFL that wouldn't have fired their head coach and front office to get Bill Belichick there, and he wouldn't have had his pick of teams to
Right.
go to. And they
Yeah.
quite, it isn't far fetched to think that Bill wouldn't have gone somewhere else and had the same kind of success that Tom Brady has had. That's what a
Hmm.
lot of people forget. That's what they
Yeah.
don't think. If Bill walks out of here, he has a job tomorrow. Any
Hmm.
job that he wants, from the New York Giants all the way out to the Los Angeles Rams, everybody would let go of their guy to get Bill Belichick in here.
And that's just a whole debate that we don't even want to get into, the Belichick versus Brady debate. I don't even want to entertain it. I don't even know why I'm putting it out into the universe, because honestly, I'm regretting it. I'm regretting my choices. But yeah, that's something that we don't need to get into. But yeah, I mean, just be patient, guys. We get
Yep,
to see the
just a little bit.
development.
Yep.
It's fun.
Just sit
Like,
back and enjoy it, and don't expect. I mean, for 20 years, we could, pencil in the AFC title game every single
mhm,
year. That's not the way of the world. It's not. We lived in Oz. We lived in
yes.
Oz for 20 years.
Yeah. And now we have wonderful memories for the rest of our
Yeah,
lives. We can tell
that's
our
it.
grandkids about,
Hmm.
So
That's it.
with that, I want to remind people that we have the Patriots Panthers next week. It's on NFL Network once again on the 19th. I will be live the following day on Saturday with a special guest that I will announce next week. But
Not me.
Hey Yo Foxboro will be back on Monday, August 15th at 4:15 once again.
There you go.
Not sure if I'll have a guest or if it'll just be me talking to myself for an hour, which I can
Right.
very easily do. And we'll talk all pregame stuff for
Yep.
the Patriots Panthers.
There you go.
But if you want to stick around and watch some more live streams, make sure you stay with E2G Sports, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, all of that. We have Down the Left Field line with Robert and Parker at 7 p.m. Eastern tonight. And
Subscribe, people.
yes,
Hit that
subscribe
subscribe
and
button. Hit that little
get to
bell.
see our beautiful faces again. I want to I
Oh,
want to get
hers.
back into this and keep chatting with you guys. I
Her,
appreciate all of you
her beautiful.
commenting, and oh yeah, all my fan, it's not working as well today, is
I
it?
know. I'm not happy. I'm not
I know, I'm
happy. I need
sorry.
to see the flow. I need the flow.
Yeah. I'll work on it. I promise next time it'll be
Dust
better.
that fan.
Yes. So where can they find you on social media, Murph?
Oh, folks, you can check me out at tmurph207. You can check out all my writing, whether it be Red Sox, Patriots, or whatever tickles my fancy over there at E2G Sports.com. I am lucky enough to have the greatest boss in the world who allows me to pontificate on just about anything that I want. Some people believe that that is really lucky, and I'm one of those people. It's also a pain in the ass. Have you ever, just been able to write about whatever you want, and you sit
I
there and you
know.
say, what am I going to write about today?
Yes, I know. Isn't
Sometimes
that
it's
a weird
nicer when
thing?
people tell you what to write about.
I know, because
But
then it's
that's the way it
so
is.
broad.
Yeah, but that's where I do not Snapchat. I do not snap face. I don't talk tick, any of that stuff. But you can find me on Twitter at tmurph207. It's always a blast over there. Please stop in and say hello. And I want to thank you guys all for coming into the chat room today. Some fantastic comments and some
I
fantastic statements.
know.
You've got some really great followers. None of
I
these
know.
people
I
follow me.
appreciate them following me through my journey here um on in
Yep.
the live streams. A lot of them have started with me when I was on Dear Pats Nation. So thank you guys. I really
Ooh.
appreciate it. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at smarshxo. I have all my links in my bio, so that's where you can find all of the things that Murph was talking about, the talk tick and the
Yep.
InstaFace and the
Insta
all that
snacks and
stuff.
yep. Yep.
And as we've said a million and one times, don't forget to follow E2G Sports, YouTube,
Yeah.
subscribe, follow on
Subscribe,
Twitter,
people.
check the
Yep.
website for articles by both of us.
Yeah, and
And
and some really fantastic writers. And we've got some of the
yep.
best writers out there that are coming in here and busting their ass on every any topic, that from the NBA all the way to the WWE and
Hmm.
every between. We've got some really great people over there. You'll be happy to find them. Head on over to e2gsports.com and definitely follow us on Twitter.
And with that, thank you guys. We will see you next week. Go Pats.
Go Pats.